You're welcome, Dr. Richard Munang. Floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Temi. It's a pleasure for me to be right back here. I mean, I think year after year, I've had the opportunity to partner with the 1111 Foundation. You guys are doing excellent work and amazing work. And to the colleagues who have been shortlisted, my discussion with you today will be very candid. And I will do it in a way that I think we need to do it. I will not pretend to discuss today, and I hope that you can be able to listen very carefully so that when I finish, I will not be asked questions on aspects I've already discussed because I will not answer them. And I have to be very blunt on this particular aspect. As I've said, 1111 Foundation is not just a novel organization that is doing great things for the continent. It is doing what the continent needs to do to select the best so that at least the continent of Africa can be able to leverage and move away from the complaining attitude that we see dotted across the continent to now become a solution space in which people can admire for what we can do because we have everything to do so. A few days ago, I saw an interview of a known figure being asked about was why they would choose one candidate over the other. The answer they gave was somewhat unexpected. While we hear all the time that people should make their choices based on competencies, people should make their choices based on proven track record and passion of the candidates, this person had simply said that their decision is based on how much they like the candidates. It further clarified that even the most impressive candidate in terms of competencies struggle to dig further on the broader subject of how people make decisions. And according to new research, it turns out that all decisions we make as human beings are informed by emotions. We use emotions as an appraisal tool and a guide for behavior. Enough to know what to do, it is necessary to feel it. A study further added that up to 95% of cognitive actions happen in our emotional brain. A study further added that when individuals damage the area of the brain where emotions were generated and processed, even if they were still capable of using logic normally, such individuals struggle to make any decisions, even simple ones like what to eat for lunch. I'm talking about the importance of emotions today, because rightfully they are supposed to enable us to make better decisions. We are in a continent called Africa. Instead of acting, yes, even the few who act still get caught up in this misery of blaming everybody and complaining when we are supposed to be showcasing solutions. Yes, Africa, a continent of adversity, is impossible to think about without one's emotions being stirred up. Facts, hungry each and every day. 157 million people in Africa experiencing hunger. Over 12 million young people are unemployed, joining the labor market every year amidst shrinking economies. Look, 60 million children, our brothers and sisters, are malnourished and costing the continent between 1.9 to 16% of the GDP. To the shrinking economies where Africa's economies are up to 20 times and competitors in the global space. Adversity is written everywhere on the continent. Yet, we discuss about it as if it's okay. It's normal and someone else have to do it for us. That's a false narrative. And I'm here today to debunk it. Yes, I'm here to inspire you, but I need to speak the truth because I think for quite a very long time, a false narrative has been developed to make us believe in things we're not supposed to believe, to make us normalize abnormality. Compounding these challenges are the three environmental crises of a time occasioned by unsustainable consumption and production patterns worldwide. I'm talking about climate change, where African economies, as we speak, every year loses up to 20 billion US dollars. I'm talking about ecological degradation, where Africa loses up to 65 billion US dollars every year. I'm talking about pollution, including air pollution that costs the continent each and every year 400 billion US dollars. These statistics are not just mere statistics. These are lost opportunities. These are lost businesses. Even as these adversities continue to escalate, recent global emergencies have been unrelenting. From the worst locusts we have seen in the continent, especially in the eastern part of Africa, where the worst locust outbreak in as many as 70 years in this part of the world was fomented by an extreme climate event called the Indian Ocean Dipole, which caused damage of over $8 billion. Then to the COVID-19 emergency caused by the changing climate, which has pushed over 40 million more people into extreme poverty in the African continent. The global conflict that has caused unprecedented inflation of up to therefore under siege. Yes, Africa is under siege. And while these challenges are global, the impact on populations vary, with some economies being more resilient than the others across the entire world. This we know. We know this because we've seen it firsthand. For example, when we look at the height of COVID-19 emergency, up to 15 developed countries, led by the United States, issued trillions of US dollars in the form of stimulus packages to buffer their economies and population, while needing up to about 100 billion US dollars in emergency response to buffer its economy, had no one to bail them out. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this situation elucidates emotions. The question we must be able to ask ourselves today, whether no matter how uncomfortable this might be, and no matter whether we like it or not, we must be able to answer this question. It's not answering this question for any applause. I'm not here for an applause, but I'm here to speak the truth as it should be spoken. Because for quite a very long time, we've been told false narrative, we've been lied to. We need to be spoken the truth. How can we ensure that these emotions provoke the right decisions among us towards driving Africa's progress under the changing climate? This question we must answer. We cannot just use emotions to complain. We must answer this question. How do we use our emotions to turn challenges to opportunity? The answer lies in one word: reimagination. The emotions from Africa's adversity must push us all towards a reimagination of solutions. That's what matters. That's what is relevant in this global space in which we are in today. Anything less than that is lip service. Anything less than that will make you feel good for 5 minutes and nothing will change in the next 5, 10, 20, and even 100 years. That's the reality. That's the ugly truth. Emotions from Africa's adversity must push us all towards reimagination of solutions. Today, it is my pleasure to share with you the two dimensions of reimagination that we need and must take with us wherever we are to ensure that Africa can transform for the better. The first is the most accessible climate action areas you can tap into in delivering solutions. And the second is the tools you can tap in to drive this reimagination. Accessible climate action areas to reimagine solutions. The first is we must reimagine our food systems. As we speak today, Africa is losing food between 30 to 50% of all the food produced in a form of post-harvest losses. This will talk comfortably as the continent loses over 48 billion US dollars yearly. Through value addition, where clean energy is decentralized to power processing, these losses can be recouped and turned into much needed incomes to build stronger, resilient economies while preserving our ecological resources to drive sustainable consumption and production. These could minimize degradation and mitigate carbon emissions. These actions that means nothing to a mother in a village. Sometimes we get excited with abstractions that are relevant at the moment, but not relevant as we move forward and our people continuously remain poor. I'm here to debunk that narrative. Without any fear of contradiction, truth be told, we know that decentralizing simple climate action solutions are perishable, they're vegetable, they're tomatoes, and increased shell life has been proven capable of increasing earnings up to 30 times in reducing post-harvest losses just by using simple solar dryers, while at the same time simultaneously mitigating over 200,000 tons of carbon dioxide compared to an alternative fossil fuel value addition solution. This we know, the data we have. But sometimes when we talk about these things, an area in which you can venture into, to create opportunity. They don't listen because it is Africans talking to Africans. That mentality must stop. Data shows that Africa's best chance at bridging the energy gap cost effectively and inclusively is with clean energy. That's the peace plan for the continent. While investing 25 billion US dollars each year can usher the continent into modern and affordable clean energy in a decade, building just one new natural gas terminal will take the same amount in a year. Yet, we hear about, we should open up new gas stations instead of talking about how do we decentralize energy systems such as solar mini grids, built as the cheapest way to electrify rural areas. We could be talking in a continent where over 75% of our mothers and fathers and brothers, they live in rural areas. How many of them can afford a gas cook stove? They're using charcoal. So we need to find an alternative that can be able to replace charcoal. These are realities. I mean, these things are facts. But sometimes we get carried away with some kind of jargon and talk about it as if we know it all. This is my space. I am a climate change expert and I know what I'm talking about. I've been in this space for 13 years. And I'm providing this information today so that you can be guided. And as I said, I will not answer any question that I've touched and I've answered in this discussion here today. It may sound rough, but sometimes truth need to come out that way. In addition to electrification, we must go beyond just producing electricity for lighting. We must start to prioritize on value addition that will enable communities to afford lighting. For example, to buy a light bulb, people will need income sources and powering enterprises to be able to do so. If you don't put money in your pocket, how are you able to do that? We talk about things sometimes as if we start to see opportunities in challenges. The miracle we need is to turn the false narrative that things will be done for us by others. That's a false narrative. Beyond electrification, as I've said, is cooking nearly 3 times more compared to using charcoal, which is currently the default option because our mothers and fathers in communities, they die choking from indoor pollution because they don't have an alternative. Yet, we do not embrace the narrative that at least we need to take waste. When in reality, those are false narratives. Already firewood, as we know today, and charcoal provide an average of over 80% of domestic cooking energy in sub-Saharan Africa, representing a market estimated at over 20 billion US dollars annually in charcoal. This is a ready market for such clean cooking alternatives. If you were to turn waste into fuel briquette, you tap into this market. The current low briquette availability of less than 5% compared to charcoal, coupled with superior performance and similarity in social acceptance to charcoal, makes this gap a niche that you must tap into. That's how we can reimagine solutions, not false narrative, force down our throats, and we embrace them and carry placards and complain. They tell us things we do not interrogate reality, solutions fit for purpose. We just absorb them and then complain. Now, who cares we? That takes me to the third point. We must reimagine transport. The global smart transportation market size is projected to grow up to about 156.5 billion in less than 3 years today, with a compound annual growth of 10.6%. Africa is among the interest areas, but young people have an opportunity that they don't even talk about. They complain, they'll spend time blaming others. Yes, of course, you complain for the right reason, but complaining is not a solution. Complaining is not a reimagination. It just sucks energy and makes people feel happy for 5 minutes, but the problems continuously perpetuate. And I'm here today to debunk that false narrative. First, most of the focus is on urban transportation. However, the most significant return is in closing market gaps and reimagining clean transport solutions to link agro production areas to markets, which is the real winner. The transitioning from energy-intensive concrete routes to route gather steam, so will opportunities in circularity in the plastic waste sector, and making paving road material from plastic waste will be an accessible area where trillions of dollars will be. Are we looking at that? Is that the mainstream narrative that you are supposed to be tweeting about, sharing on? Why? Because we do not embrace our own narratives. When we're told to put them down, we put them down. Let me tell you guys something. I have learned and I've been in this space. In the global space, people don't care how you look. In the global space, it's what you can offer as Harun or from Kenya or from Zambia. It doesn't matter. It is what's a track. Complaints and blame game actually repel people from you. That takes me to the fourth point. We must reimagine our finance. Finance, I know, is an aspect that is discussed and always, oh, we need to fund it. Of course, you can be funded, but the reality is that sometimes we forget what we can leverage where we are to be able to make transformational change as we look for more. The debate in the continent today ignores what Africa has got from an advantage point perspective and focuses on what Africa doesn't have a strength on. And why? Because of false narrative. And who perpetuate the false narrative? You cannot take a continent where over 60% of the population is youthful, yet they do not propose solutions and drive it, but 70% in some countries and 75% in some countries. You can make decisions that can be able to reshape a narrative. But what do I see on Twitter, on Facebook? Blame game, complaining. I am here today without any fear of contradiction to tell you that narrative is a false narrative. It has never worked, and we must change it. We must reimagine our finance. The aspects I've mentioned on transport, energy, food systems, we cannot be able to achieve that without actually looking at what are these product lines? What do we need to do? The product lines I've mentioned will need to tap a financially viable market. What is this market gap? This is the informal sector, which engages over 80% of the entire population in the continent, including up to 80% of youth. How to reaching them in a low-risk way. Currently, only about 5% have a relationship with formal financial institutions, but up to 90% of this informal sector are members of a locally communal cooperative. In addition, the potential for enterprise growth by this informal sector represents an over 300 billion lending gap that remains untapped by formal financial institutions because of perceived high risk. As young people, as you're listening today, your solutions will need to tap into this lucrative market. And doing so will require that you engage them through local cooperatives. Let me repeat, you engage them through local cooperatives. Being members of these local cooperatives will enable you to not only generate capital to finance your ideas affordably and through accessible instruments, but also allow you to tap into your would-be market, the informal sector, in a financially low-risk and accountable way. Let me pause here for a minute. I have given talks across the world, and I've spoken to over 5 million African youth physically or even virtually. And anytime there is talk of finance and markets, they always sit back and not think detailedly into that aspect because they've been made to believe that they need only to be funded for their ideas to pick up. That's a false narrative. And then they've been blindfolded sometimes to forget that they can be able to tap to local markets to build themselves up, leverage little financing, using the financial institutions to do so. And anytime I discuss this issue, there's never any interest in it. And then when I finish, I get questions asked on the same issue. I am here today to tell you guys, that is how you can build a sustainable future, by using what you have to get what you don't. I've been in this space. I'm talking from experience. I'm not here for applause or for relevance. I'm here to speak the truth. If you don't tap into these aspects I've mentioned, we will come back here 10 years after and be aspects I've mentioned to you today. You must prioritize the fully soft aspects, because you need to cultivate some self-motivated tools to ensure that reimagination happens. But I learn every day. I read every day. I practice every day. I was not born to be an eloquent speaker. I learn. If you do not perfect your skill is your biggest premium. It doesn't matter, oh, you say, I'm Cameroonian, I'm Niger. Look, those things don't matter. It's what you can offer. Unconventional. And this means that you must retailor your skill to align to these realities that have been presented. In this era of internet, accessible internet, to cultivate the attitude to re-engineer and reimagine the kind of Africa we need today within the context of changing climate. You must develop purposeful passion. Yes, you must. Passion, I call it a new currency of now. Yes, it is. I usually say that give money to a passionless individual and watch them squander it. True. Whether we like it or not. Give ideas to a passionate, purposeful, selfless individual and watch them turn the ideas into money, truth. But we don't have a lot of those today. I believe you people will represent such a generation that showcases that, yes, we do not have, but we can avail ourselves to get knowledge and learn from discussions like these ones today. And leverage the opportunity to turn challenges to opportunity and put more money in more pockets and put on the table. That's the attitude we need as Africans. But sometimes we're not told for fear that, hey, if we say it, people will be angry. So what? Anger is better than being oblivious with reality and complain about problems today and tomorrow and into the future. As I said, speak the truth. Passion is what we need. And this comes out of an internally generated desire to offer value in turning community challenges into opportunities, into enterprise opportunities for the many, and not only looking for ways to benefit yourself alone. We must banish selfishness and embrace selflessness and collectivism. Individualism has costed the continent so much. And that takes me to the third point on the soft aspect you must be able to leverage. And this is even more important. Build symbiosis with policymakers through empirical data of success. Let me pause here again a little bit. We hear people demanding for solutions, demanding for changes. Yes, that's fine. It is within their right to do so, no matter where they are. But the world doesn't work that way. The world doesn't work that way. You must be able to do something and say, this is what I've done, this is the gap, and I need support to close this gap. If others have done it and it has worked, that's not how the world works. I usually say that the governments we expected to work for us are interested in success stories that will make them look good, not only great ideas alone. I have learned that I'm speaking from my experience. Your selfless actions, in no matter what you do, to use what is accessible to you and implement just part of policies already in place. We're talking about the nationally determined contributions. Countries across the continent have ratified, they have climate policies. But sometimes we talk as if nothing exists. But we should do it. We must play our part and deliver value to the informal sector, who are the majority. And by doing so, you will turn your name into a household name. Household names must be as a result of preferring solutions, not only a one soundbite on TikTok. To be popular is just one aspect, but to be relevant is another. I'd rather be relevant than only to be popular because of a soundbite. Be relevant by turning a challenge into an opportunity, by turning waste to briquettes, by having and more money in more pockets. That is relevant. That is usefulness. And that's the purpose of why we exist today. This is what raises anyone's curiosity, including governments, interest to share in your success story. Yes, that's what brings people to you. In this way, you can call for more targeted incentives. Yes, that's what we must do. With that data, you can be able to move forward and do a lot of things. All of us, especially you here today and those who are listening from elsewhere, have the best opportunity on earth to self-discover and establish yourselves and cement your brand and legacy by offering value. This will be like turning Africa's challenges into enterprise opportunities for many. And as I've shared, the climate action lens offers very accessibly low-lying fruit areas for us as we touch millions of lives positively. That's what makes a difference. That's what matters now and into the future, because we know complaining and blame game just won't do. Rise up and seize the moment. Thank you.
It was such an interesting session. Thank you for inspiring us.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Richard. We learned so much from your sessions today, as always, and we are grateful to you for joining us today. I'm sure that as much as we do, the finalists are also excited and happy to learn from you. I mean, complaining is not the solution, like you said. It doesn't lessen the problem and it doesn't take away from the problem. So we have to take action rather than just sit and complain.
And feel free to ask questions. Don't bother. Ask questions, even if on aspects I've mentioned. So I know that was intimidating, but please feel free to ask questions.
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to open the floor for you finalists to engage Dr. Richard Munang. If you have any question at all, please